Hey everyone, Ben Stoll here, lead designer on HEX, and today I will be showing you guys how to play HEX. HEX is the first ever real MMO TCG, so what that really means is there's tons of stuff going on, but today we're just going to show you the very fundamentals of how to play. So I'm logging in, I'm going to pick my deck, which is a Shin Hair deck, which means it's a swarm of bunnies designed to just overrun my opponent, turn him into rabbit food. I'll be playing against Dan Clark, the lead developer on HEX. He will be playing an Orc deck, so a little more vicious and cutthroat style of a deck. Here we are in the arena. I'll remind everybody this is HEX is in pre-alpha right now, so what you'll see when it's actually in your hands will be much more polished, but you'll get a pretty good sense of what it's more or less going to look like. Okay, he's challenging us. Okay, so here we go. So at the start of the game, we're both going to draw a hand of 7 cards. And if we like our hand, if we think it's got a good mix of troops and special actions and resource cards to play those other cards, then we can choose to keep our hand. Our hand looks like it has a pretty good mix, so we kept it. Looks like Dan is doing the same. He's taking the first turn over there. While he's doing that, I'll talk about some of this other stuff. You see in the bottom left, that's our champion, the vicious yet adorable Shin Hair champion. We have 20 health. And in the upper left is Dan's champion, the lovely yet ferocious Polka the Conflagrator, an Orc. And the goal is for us to take Dan's 20 health down to 0 before he can do the same to us. So, looks like Dan just played a resource on his first turn and passed over to us. The little orange lines indicate it's our turn. Start of every turn, we draw a card, and we can always play 1 resource every turn. So, when we play our wild resource, 3 things are going to happen. We're going to charge our champion, which will give us access to our special unique charge power, but we'll get to that later. We're going to get a wild threshold, which is that little green leaf that just appeared right there. And we're going to get a mana, which we can use every turn to spend on playing the other cards in our hand. So, you see the orange line around the Shin Hair Militia here means that's a card in our hand that we can play. So, in the upper left, the 1 means we're going to have to spend 1 mana on him, which we're going to do in a second, which is okay because at the start of every turn, our mana is going to replenish. The little green circle underneath the 1 just is a threshold cost. That just means if we have 1 wild threshold, which we do for the rest of the game now, we can always play cards that require 1 wild threshold. So the threshold is kind of like a done deal. Once you get the threshold, as long as you have that threshold met, you can always play cards of that threshold amount. So we played our little Shin Hair Militia. He can't attack. That's what that little purple swirly mist is. So we're going to go ahead and end our turn. As soon as our next turn starts, we will be able to attack with him. So back over to Dan. Dan's deck is an Orc deck. It's very about kind of blindsiding you. Many of his troops have the ability to attack right when they enter play. He's also going to have access to some powerful direct damage spells, which he can use to take our troops right off the board and kill them, as well as some other nasty stuff. Meanwhile, our deck is all about creating basically just a swarm of bloodthirsty rabbits and try to overrun Dan with a whole army of rabbits before he can really do anything else. So our second turn, we drew a card, we played another resource. We have some more options for the stuff we can play now. So we're going to play Runts of the Litter. And what this lets us do, create 3 Battle Hoppers. So again, with the Swarm theory, Battle Hoppers aren't much to look at. Those little guys are cute though, aren't they? Battle Hoppers are just 0 attack, 1 defense. The little number in the bottom left is their attack, and the bottom right is their defense. Again, they can't attack because we just put them all into play. But, as you'll see, next turn, we're going to start to play some powerful action cards, which will really start to pay dividends for the fact that we are just building this mass of bunnies. Our Shin Hair Militia can attack this turn, so we're going to enter our attack step. That's what that blue line means. We're going after Dan's champion, and he turns sideways, which we call exhausting, which means he is now attacking Dan. So if Dan had any troops in play, he could choose to block our Shin Hair Militia and absorb some of the damage, but he doesn't. So we deal the 1 damage, his champion goes down to 19 health. And that's all we can do, we're out of mana, so we end our turn. Okay, so Dan's 3rd turn starting now. Hopefully he doesn't play anything too terrifying. Oh, okay, so that is Dan's charge power. I mentioned earlier, in HEX, your champions gain charges when you play resources and do various other things. So Dan's charge power lets him create this Blaze Elemental, which is a 3 attack, 1 defense, And if you saw, it has the keyword speed, which lets it attack right away. He doesn't have to wait a turn. So he's attacking us with a Blaze Elemental. Now we can either take the 3 damage to our champion, but I think I'm going to throw a little bunny in the way to absorb some of that damage. Sorry, little guy. You happen to be expendable at this moment in time. So our little bunny is going to block. Because our troop only has 0 attack, it's not gonna do any damage back to Dan's Blaze Elemental. But his Blaze Elemental's 3 attack will be enough to devour the poor little 1 health Shin here. So our guy goes to the graveyard as a result. Dan's guy stays in play. But at the end of the turn, since it's a Blaze Elemental, it will die and go to the graveyard. So start of our turn, you'll notice our Shin'Hair Militia is exhausted, but it's going to ready. At the beginning of our turn, we always replenish all our mana points. All of our exhausted cards ready so they're in use again. And of course, we draw a card. So we're going to play another wild resource. Boom, we now have 3 wild threshold, which is more than enough to meet all the threshold requirements of every card in our deck. And now we are going to use our charge power, which will let us create yet another Battle Hopper. So again, keeping with the theme of overwhelming horde of bloodthirsty but adorable rabbits. So we're going to play this basic action, Evolve, which says each troop we control gets permanent +1 attack, +1 defense. So we just play that. It's an action, so it doesn't stay in play like our troop cards. It goes right to the graveyard. You can see the little green numbers here. All of our troops just got that much stronger. So, and I should also mention that that's a permanent effect. So we're going to go ahead and attack with our little army. Everybody can attack except for the Battle Harper we created this turn. It's 4 damage going right towards Dan's face. He has no troops, so he's forced to take it. Boom, that's 4 damage. And, oh, as I was saying, the Evolve creates a permanent effect. So, for example, let's say Dan played a card that killed our troops or sent them back to our hand somehow. They would stay permanently affected by that buff, basically forever. Unless he had a special card that reverted them to their original form. So Dan's starting his 4th turn. He's going to play a fourth resource. Oh, and he's summoning a Sacrificial Zealot. This is another card with speed, so it can attack right away. You'll notice it says it can't block, fortunately. Again, the orcs with their full-on bloodthirsty all-or-nothing strategy. Okay, so he's attacking us. I'm going to say let's choose not to block. We have a ready troop that we could block with there on the end. But we're just going to go ahead and take the 3 damage this time. So we take it. We'll Combat Flames in the middle of the board die down to show combat's over. And it looks like Dan's ending his turn. So boom, all of our guys ready. We will draw another card. And, okay, there we go. And this turn, we're going to summon the Concubunny, who is very important to our strategy. When she has a special activated ability there, which means if we exhaust her and we exhaust another one of our Shin'Hair troops, we can give birth, if you will, to yet another Battle Hopper. So she won't be able to do that right away, but she will be able to, just like attacking, she can't use her activated ability right away, but she'll be primed and ready to go for next turn to start popping out more rabbits for us. So here's the rest of our squad. We're going to send them right back. We're kind of winning the damage race against Dan right now, so we don't need to hold these guys back for blocking. So we're coming in for 5 more damage. Dan cannot block. So, yep, you'll see, boom, there's another 5 damage right to Dan's face. Take that, Dan. And we're out of mana. So, well, actually we have 1 mana left, but we're going to go ahead and end our turn. Okay, Dan readies his guy. So, the Battle Hopper, the Concubunny is going to be real key for us. She's going to basically let us just create, every single turn, we're going to be able to put another Battle Hopper into play. So if Dan doesn't have anything to do about that, it's going to start to get real rough on him real fast. And we probably will not be blocking with her this turn because she's too important to our overall strategy. Again, oh gosh, what do we have here? Interrupting me? Burn. Okay, so Dan is playing a Burn, which will deal 2 damage directly to our Concubunny, which would be enough to send her and her burnt fur packing to the graveyard, but we actually happen to have a quick action in our hand, which means we can play it on Dan's turn, which says target troop gets +4 attack and +4 defense this turn. It's wild growth. So the way it works is since Dan played his burn, we actually have a chance to respond. That's what the little sidebar thing on the right is there. It's kind of saying that we actually have a chance to play our wild growth in response to Dan's burn, which we will. Which means our wild growth will happen first, So our Concubunny balloons up into a 4 attack, 5 defense troop, and then Dan's burn will happen after that, and by the time Dan's burn resolves, the Concubunny is big enough that she will survive. So that was awesome for us. Okay, so I'm guessing Dan is maybe still going to attack us here, though. He's, yes he is, because his troop has a special ability not to block. And we're just going to let this through. We want to keep our Concubunny around, like I said, and we're still at 17, so we can afford to take some damage. Okay, so we're going to take 3 damage right to the face. And, okay, Dan's passing through on his combat damage. So you'll notice combat is broken down into different steps. Okay, it's attack, defense, and then at the end, damage. Dan's throwing out another Orc troop to do some work, and then he ends the turn. So our little army readies. We will draw a card. It's another Shinhair Militia. Awesome. So we're going to throw a wild resource into play. And we're going to throw down another Shinhair Militia. And he won't be able to attack, but the other 4 dudes can go to town, so we're going to go ahead and enter our combat step and attack. So again, everything that can attack highlighted in orange. We'll click all of our guys and let the bunny beatdowns continue. Dan might choose to block here. He's got a 2 attack, 1 defense, so he doesn't have a great blocker, but he might, at this point, he might think it's worth it to start saving himself some damage. I don't know what's going on that crazy developer had of his. Well, so right now we've declared our attackers. We're waiting for him to choose whether or not he wants to block. It looks like he will be blocking us. Okay, that's not bad because our guy has got 3 defense, so it's going to survive the attack that his guy's putting back against us. Oh, but he's got a Ruby Aura, which is another quick action, so Dan played it right in the middle of combat, which normally you couldn't do with a basic action, which brought his troops' attack up to 3, and it gave it the ability Swift Strike, which meant his Orc dealt damage first to our troop, which is why our troop has already died before the rest of combat finishes. So that was kind of brutal for us, but not too bad. So here we're using the Concubunny. We exhaust her and the Shinhair Militia to give birth to a brand new baby Battle Hopper, and he'll be able to start doing some work for us right away. So finishing up combat, we deal 3 damage. Dan's down to 7, so getting within kill range, and we'll go ahead and end our turn. So Dan's got a couple Orcs on the board with 3 attack. We're at 14 health, so we're still doing okay. But again, the Orc deck can kind of come out of nowhere and surprise you with some stuff, so we do want to be careful. Okay, so Dan's got he's got a 6th charge on his champion, which means he'll be able to activate his charge power again. In other words, create another Blaze Elemental, so that's kind of scary. And he's also playing a Wrath Seeker, it looks like, which has the keyword Rage, which means whenever this troop attacks, it gets permanent +2 attack for the rest of the game. And his other Orc in play is going to give that troop speed, I'm guessing, which means we're actually going to be looking at quite a lot of pain coming our way this turn. Okay, yep, there he is. He's using his other Orc's ability to grant the Wrath Seeker speed. Okay, so the flames of combat light up. Dan is now choosing what he wants to attack with. Now, Dan's in kind of a tough situation, though. He might not want to be too aggressive because he's almost dead. So yeah, it looks like he's holding one of his Orcs back to block with, but sending the other 3 to attack us. So we do have 1 ready Shinhair troop that we can block with if we want to. The rest of our army is all exhausted right now. But I think that we would rather try to go for the kill next turn, maybe, or deal some more damage. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and take the 9 damage, which will take us all the way down to 5, and see if Dan has anything else. He does not. So that's his Blaze Elemental burning away forever. Thank goodness. And so our turn will start. All of our guys ready. We get to draw our card. Okay, we're going to go ahead and, yes, evolve. We will show Dan the evolutionary dominance of the bunny. Let's go ahead and put our Shinhair Militia into play. We'll go ahead and use our charge power again, spending 2 more charges. And that will leave us with one left, so we'll create one more Battle Hopper. And then it's time to evolve. So here we go, all of our guys getting that much stronger. We have 2, 4, 6, 8 bunny rabbits in play right now. 6 of them will be able to attack. So yes, we will go ahead and enter our attack step. And let's go. We got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10 damage worth of bunnies attacking Dan. Yeah, let's send the concubunny even. She's tired of all this birthing nonsense. She wants to get a little combat in. So Dan's only got 1 orc he can block with. Who knows, he might have some trickiness in his hand. He will block. But if he has nothing else, that's still going to be enough damage to push through the victory. So there's the Swift Strike damage happening before everything else. And wait for it. Fingers crossed. Boom! 8 damage. That's victory for the bunnies. The orcs are defeated. Okay, cool. So there's our celebratory fireworks. And everyone, thanks very much for watching. We will have more for you soon.